welcome to episode 8 of Kevin's Garage, my journey as a complete car building novice to construct my Factory 5 Roadster. And this week we're going to be talking about the most important person who's travelling in the car. And no drivers, it's not us. It is of course the passenger. So this week's focus is on the passenger footbox. How can we make it as neat and as sound as it possibly can be to keep our passengers safe. So I've got a number of key learnings to share, so let's get right to it. Okay, so the first aluminum panel that we're going to be working on today is the top of the passenger footbox. So I mentioned in an earlier video that I was put just a piece of painter's tape and I write on what I have. So I know this is the top of the passenger's footbox and I know it goes that way because that's labelled as the front. So this is basically fits like this, and we'll show it in situ in a few moments. Now the manual actually from Factory 5 is pretty good in terms of the aluminum panels and does a nice job of laying out where you need to put the holes and which ones you drill and mark at this stage. So for this particular panel, because of what else is attached to it and how it sort of fits together in the footbox, it just recommends doing the two flat sides first. So that's what I've marked out. Now, one thing to point out is that the larger holes you can see here already drilled, those come from the Factory 5, when they originally put those initial bolts or screws into the panel when it's delivered. And you'll notice that sometimes they're not exactly in the ideal place or where you would have put those screws. So I try to use the 2-inch spacing. Obviously we have the spacing tool, the 2 and the 3-inch, wherever I can, but obviously sometimes it's just not practical. So my advice would be, don't sort of get so concerned about it then you start to lose sleep. Just basically find what works for you. I try and get it as close to the 2 inch as possible, but I like to have an even spacing. So I think I managed it in this section here. Couldn't quite manage it there, and this is a little wider, but I wanted to fit in to make it neat. And as long as it all holds together in terms of the silicone and doesn't rattle and has a good tight fit, then that's absolutely fine. And obviously it's your car, so it's your choice. So I've marked out the panels. I've just got this side here just to put a center punch in. I do like the automatic ones. This was a real find, makes it so much quicker, more straightforward to do. So just pop all of those in, then I'll just drill a couple and then we'll come back when we're actually attaching it to the car. So another piece is that now it's actually time to drill, and again this is the same as all the other panel, most of the panels, it's a 1/8 drill. What I do, just have it set up on the on my bench here. I use a couple of extra spare pieces of plywood from when I built the body book, but any extra wood, so if you go through, it's not an issue, everything's sort of safe. So again, let's just drill a couple of these. Helps if you make sure it's nice and tight, but that was fine. Let's do another quick one. Also helps if you take the drill out of reverse, but it still cuts and nice and smooth. So I'll do the rest in a moment. And then of course, what you can remember to do is just use a larger drill bit. Here is just a 1/2-inch drill, or there's actually a little tool that you can use. This is just a deburring tool, just to take those edges off and make it nice and smooth. So when you've gone through all of that, made them nice and smooth, then we'll talk about how you attach it to the car. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to connect that panel to the top of the passenger footbox. So the first thing to do is to put a bead of silicone. See, that's just how much along the top, and it actually fits under here. Try not to get that silicone everywhere. I think the best way I've found to do it is to use a Cleco and to pop it into the original hole that was put there at the factory when it was delivered. So if I can find that, it's just under here. Right. Extra pair of hands. There you go. Oof. Right. So eventually I found it. So that's probably the easiest thing to do. And then what I can do is I've already popped a little hole in the side here, and what it recommends is that we just drill a temporary hole in that, and I can put a Cleco in that too, and then I think we're in a good position. So then just go through with the 1/8. And just take the time to oversize the hole a little, and hopefully my Cleco will fit straight in there. Perfect. All right. So that's good. So now we're in the right position. So what I can do now is I can finish off, drill all the holes in the bottom 2-inch piece of steel behind here, get that fixed. Well, that's temporarily fastened, and then I can start to build the rest of the box. Also, it's a good reminder that these edges really can be quite sharp. So I did catch myself just down here when I was fumbling around for a moment, but I think that's a good lesson for all of us. Okay, first panel is in. So let's use Kevin Cam to take a quick look. Firstly, these creepers, mine happens to be a Z creeper, but there are many other different varieties. These are absolutely great tools to use. So I'm just going to come out a little bit so we can just see underneath the panel, fits nice and smoothly. You can see a nice neat line of rivets along there now. So that's all good. We're in situ. So now we can go and start adding the next panel. Okay, so the next panel to go in is the center console panel. So just like before, we need to mark this up. So I think you can see here when this is actually in the car, when you first take it off, what I did was I marked it up. So you can see this is a part of the chassis here. This is a part of the chassis here. So what we're going to do now is just to mark up where we're going to put our next rivet holes, and then we can get this, add some silicone and add this panel as well. So let's just start that process. Okay, so what I decided to do here was to have a 3-inch gap across the top, nice and uniform. This is obviously going straight to the chassis, and then just put 2 inches apart in the middle going down. So again, we'll just drill those and then install them in exactly the same procedure as we just did the prior panel. So exactly the same as the prior panel, a bead of silicone, and then you can use a Cleco to temporarily secure the panel exactly in the right position. Press down gently, and then you can rivet in exactly the same way as we've done before to securely pop it in place. Perfect. Okay, so we're on to the next panel. So this is the inside left of the passenger footbox. So this is the next one that you're required to do, and what you're supposed to do is to look at both of the vertical sides and obviously measure out and drill your holes and tidy them up. So I wanted to show you this panel because this is where just one of the situations you have to deal with. Unfortunately, when the panel came from factory 5, these were the 2 holes that were drilled and were used to attach to the other panels. So clearly, you know, you can't base anything off those 2, and this is where the overlap with the other panel should be. So I just decided to not worry about those. We'll tidy those up as we get into the installation, but just to draw out and drill what I felt was appropriate. So we've got like a 2-inch space here, nice and neat. We'll see if these align to anything and if we can connect them. If not, we'll just try and fill them and block them up somehow. But that's just one of the things you have to deal with, but I just thought it was worth sharing with you. And then my notes, again, same thing, you know, inside of the panel, and just a little note to me that this goes in pretty early, and clearly it's going in pretty early now. So just wanted to share that learning. Okay, so the next piece that we are fitting after the front of the passenger footbox actually doesn't appear in the manual, or maybe I missed it, but it just makes sense and it's logical to put it in now. And this is the bottom of the passenger footbox. So I'm just going to show you what I did in terms of preparation. So you've got sort of 3 flanges on the floor there that you can see. This needs to fit over the top of, so I've just prepared the holes, making sure you leave quite a large gap there because you've got a round piece of the chassis that obviously you're not going to drill into. Don't worry about this flange at this point because you're going to be drilling through that from the outside. So really you're following in the middle down on this side and on here, and then this piece here in line. This was actually the hole that it came with. So I just followed that through, and you actually will rivet from underneath that 2-inch crossbar there as part of the chassis. So that's what I'm going to do now. So what I'll do is I'll come back in a second, but I'm just going to put a little bit of silicone down here, and then I'll put a little bit on top of here. I'll drop a Cleco in, and then I'll just put all of this into place. So I'll show you what it looks like in a second. All right, we've gone into Kevin Cam mode. So you can see I've put the floor in. You can see rivets at the front, down on the left-hand side there. This is just waiting for the side bracket, and then if we just come under here, I think you can see that we've just put the rivets under there. So that went in pretty straightforward. Let's move on to the next piece. So these are the last 2 pieces of the passenger footbox. Here we've got the the right side. So this goes basically like that, and then this is the top. So actually this fits on just like that. And the nice thing is you already have a clue, because we've already got a hole that was made when the car was delivered. So that's what I'm going to use just to temporarily put it back together. So I'm just going to tidy that up for a second, just using my 1/2 inch drill bit. Right, so then I'm just going to take a little bit of silicone, pop a thin bead of silicone, not too much, because it's fair to say that this stuff is a little disgusting when it gets everywhere. One of our friendly Clicos from over here, and then we'll just drop this straight on there, and that should just hold it enough while actually I've worked out that to build this car you actually need 4 hands. So as I'm pretty much solo most of the time, it can make it a little bit of a challenge. Doesn't mean it can't be done. It certainly can be done, but you just have to work a little bit harder. All right, so that's what you're looking like, and then we'll just pop this onto the car and get it all set up, and then I'll again talk through what we did. So what we're basically going to do now is we're going to put more silicone down here, and obviously basically all the parts it's going to touch. So down here as well, also down at the bottom and on the sides through here. So get it all set up, and then we'll pop in, drill and pop in the rivets as we've been doing with every other piece, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we've gone into Kevin Cam mode to have a look at the Footbox to see how we did and what are the lessons learned that I can share as a novice builder. Well, I think the first one is preparation is the key here. And so when you look in general at where the rivets are, you've just got to be aware that sometimes if you have the rivets too close to the edge, like maybe here, for example, because these sort of flanges are cut, there may be areas that are just going into air. So really sort of take care as to where you place your rivets when you mark them out. If you look at the bottom, you can see that this is the only area where the rivets sort of go down, and it's obviously on this side. The rest, this is where the rivets are coming into inside the Footbox. You can see, if you look underneath, you've got your rivets underneath here, and obviously underneath this 2-inch tube as well. So let's have a look outside to see what we can learn from here. I think overall I was pretty pleased with the aesthetic and how it came out. If you remember that all of these panels are actually finished off by hand at the Factory 5 factory. So, they may be a little, unusual in certain places and not exactly fit where you want them to. But I think this came out pretty good overall. I think you can see there was a few things that, are a little irritating, but, I'll just have to get over it. For example, look at this rivet here, this rivet here, this rivet here, for example. They are probably not where I would have put those rivets, but that's where the holes were when they came from the factory, and there's a couple of other ones over there. So I think you just need to get over that and work your own spacing out. I went with the 2-inch spacing pretty much everywhere, and I think overall, I'm pretty pleased with how it turns out. It's certainly solid and robust, and that's the most important thing. So most of the time, I just use the shorter 1/8 inch rivet. In certain areas, you needed to use a slightly longer rivet. So let's just remind everyone as to, just dropped it there, as to what they look like. fumble around and pick them up. Oh, so there you are. You have the longer rivet on the right and the shorter rivet on the left. So for example, you'd use the longer rivet here, where you've got panel into panel and then into the frame of the chassis. Another place you might use the longer rivet is underneath down at the bottom. Firstly, ignore those 3 rivets, these 3 higher up. That was one of those bloody hell Marg moments where I thought there was another aluminum panel behind, but there wasn't. But the question here is, do you put the bottom rivets just from the panel to the panel, or do you put them into the sort of rounded frame as well of the chassis? And I think the answer here is yes. You basically do whatever you can do and what is best for your fit. So I ended up doing about half and half, not because that was the master plan, that's just what worked for me. For example, this one, there's a bit of a gap behind here, so that end one only goes from the panel to the panel, whereas the next one had a really nice connection to the frame, so I'll put it straight through and put it to the frame. So it just basically is whatever you can make work. I actually think it was designed just to go panel to panel, but I think either of those works very well. So overall, I think I was pretty pleased with the overall aesthetic. The most important thing is that it looks neat, and of course the fact that it is secure and robust, which of course this is. A couple of other learnings is that the Cleco is definitely your friend here as you're making those fine adjustments. So much easier to move a Cleco than to obviously drill out a rivet that you've put in the wrong place. Another learning is at the end, you've obviously got like probably print marks all over the panel, so you can clean it down with a little bit of acetone. And also when you look inside, you can see, yes, there are a few gaps now, but you can fill all of those in later on. What I'm going to use is this, if I can see it, here, just basic sort of aluminum tape that you might use when you're finishing off like air conditioning ducting. I'm going to use that, and then of course we'll be using the various heat products to seal the inside of the Footbox. All right, so overall I have to say pretty pleased with that. All right, let's bring it home. So that's it for this episode of Kevin's Garage. Overall, I was pretty pleased with how the passenger Footbox came out. I have to say that Factory 5 do a pretty good job in terms of the instructions of the manual, though of course there are one or two little pieces which were missed out for some reason. Now what I should be doing according to the manual next is putting in the floor of the passenger area and maybe a couple of the sides as well, and then move on to the Footbox for the driver. But I'm actually not going to do that. I wanted to leave everything open until I put in the fuel lines and the brake lines, because I think I still need a lot more access. Certainly being a novice, the more room I have, the better. What I did do though was put in the transmission mount in the middle. I'll maybe show you that next time, but that's just simply 4 bolts. It's just so much easier to do it now where everything is open. So that's it. Now what I will be doing next week is I'm actually going to fit the gas tank. So let's get that in, and then after that we can start to put the fuel lines in. So hopefully you're still enjoying my novice's journey. I have to say I'm learning something every single week, thoroughly enjoying the process. And if you're enjoying it too, then please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time back in Kevin's Garage.